The boy didn't know it yet, but death stalked them. It would soon strike, and there would be no one else to witness it. But for now, the lake called. It was too hot to think of anything else. He squinted in the heat shimmer at the turn of the track ahead, and saw they weren't far from the swimming hole. The walk made it sweeter once there. At least, that's what his old man always said when he refused to drive them. Gotta learn it, fella. Hunched over his beer, not smiling. The boy knew better than to argue. His sister hugged the roadside, and under the shade of trees strung along its edge, so he had to stay in full sun alongside her. The sun crisped his hair, back of his neck. He could feel the air baking him. Send a man crazy, his father used to say. Sucks the breath out of you, dries the sweat neath your skin, boils your brains. Have to respect the land, boy. That was before his granddad got kicked in the chest by his horse, while out surveying fences and laying for 2 days in the grass. Ribs collapsed. They found him eventually, but he died the night previous, and something had eaten a part of his face. A dingo, perhaps. Maybe that's why the boy's dad hunted them. What he'd taken out of it was, you live out here long enough, and either you go crazy or the land kills you. That, and always tell someone where you're going. He idly stamped the bullets with his walking cane as he went. His legs were getting better now, stronger, and he didn't really need the cane anymore. But it was mahogany, and the only thing of his grandfather's he'd been given. So he still took it everywhere. His sister trudged head down as always. The outsized straw hat making her look like one of them Chinaman peasants. Off to work in the morning. As she went, she kicked at the dirt with her scuffed slip-ons. Like most of their stuff, hand-me-downs from the McAllisters, who'd taken over their farm when they lost it. Like his own shoes, in fact, already a size small. Didn't earn that, did we, Dad? He was growing too fast, Mrs. McAllister said, ruffling his hair. He'd be wearing her husband's shoes before long, instead of Bobby's. And he smiled politely as always, and ignored her daughter smirking at him from the doorway. He knew what the rest of the town thought of his family, but he also knew you did what you had to survive. Because if you didn't, you got trampled and left in the dirt. They were only 50 feet from the bend now, and he could feel the bright water on his skin, imagining cooling the bone-deep heat. He'd keep his head under long, as he could until his sister got worried, and then he'd break the surface to her worried eyes. He glanced over, smiling at the thought, but she was looking behind them, that crease line between her eyebrows already showing. "Who's that?" she asked. He turned, shaded his eyes. A dust cloud in the distance swirled like a whirly wind. Something within it glinted in the sun. Then a sound like a growling demon came out of the dirt as the big car lazily accelerated, having kept pace with them for who knew how long. Pulled closer through the haze. He frowned also and stepped off the road. The car had been following them. He could tell by the change in sound once he looked around. But why? Someone keeping an eye on them, making sure they made it safe to the dam? But it wasn't his father's car, and his old man wouldn't do that anyway. "You can't get lost walking to the pit," he'd say to the kid's mother to shut her up. Threaten the back of his hand if he kept going on about it. And they had rattling, near broken down ute anyway. This was low slung and black, a big engine beneath the hood. The noise spooked the white mass of squawking cockatoos out of the trees. Not anyone the boy recognized either. All he could see through the dark windshield as the car pulled closer was a silhouette of a hat, rough hands on the wheel, a big man spreading shoulders. The engine hurt his ears as the car pulled alongside. The man's teeth cruel and yellow, just like a dingo's. He grinned at the boy, wider at his sister. "What the blimey heck are you two doing out here? Hotter than hell." Sweat matted the man's hairy wrists, a smell of oil and body odor. The boy frowned. It was always hot here. How was today any different? He kept in front of his sister, watching the man. The man's eyes as yellow as his teeth. "Thought it was a mirage, you two out here. This is all why I slowed. Make sure I wasn't seeing things. Like a couple of angels. Your parents let you walk out by yourselves?" The boy didn't say anything, but his sister nodded, and the man slinked those eyes to her, drank her in, her furry skirt, her bare legs. "You know, you die out here, and no one ever find you. Young girls shouldn't be walking alone." "She's not alone." The man looked at him, then laughed, a high nasally snort back in his throat, an ugly sound. The boy didn't recognize the man with his unshaven face and dirty hat. Maybe he was just passing through town on to somewhere else, or he was new. Either way, he was an outsider, and his father had always taught the boy not to trust outsiders. Not to trust anyone, in fact, but outsiders most of all. "Until you know how someone thinks, you don't know what they'll do," he'd say. Same with dogs. You gotta get inside their heads, predict them to catch them. Otherwise, they'll surprise you. Maybe get the jump on you, rip out your throat in the night. Maybe he just said that to scare the boy because dingoes never attacked humans, far as he knew. The boy wished his father was here now. Something about that man's smile wasn't right. The way he looked at his sister. Like the boy wasn't even there, and if the man wanted, he could just reach out with those sweaty hands. "Our home's just around the corner," the boy said. "We're late for lunch." The man raised an eyebrow. "I didn't know there were any houses out this way." His sister gripped his hand tighter at that, worried at the lie breaking down, but the boy ignored it. "Why? Where are you from?" The man smiled. "Oh, around. Just cutting through, actually. Been in the city. Gotta get back to work." "Where's that?" "Ask a lot of questions, boy." His sister tugged on his hand. "Can we keep going?" "I know everyone round here," the boy said. "Never seen you before is all." The man shrugged. "I never seen you either, so we're even." He looked at his sister. "Aren't you hot, sweetheart? I can give you both a lift. Won't be no trouble." The boy gripped the heavy stick across his body, protective. The man didn't notice, or didn't care. "We're used to walking. We're fine." The man blinked at him with blank eyes, then a slow yellow smile. He took in the stick. Its gnarled end. He laughed. "Heat must be getting to you, boy. It got me all wrong. Just wanted to help." The boy nodded, didn't move. "You're a good brother. All right, I won't give you a lift. But here, take this before I go." He reached beside him, and the boy tensed. But then the man held 2 chocolate bars out the window. A bit melted, but they're still good. The boy felt his sister move, and pressed down on her hand. "We're about to have lunch, but thank you anyway." The man saw the look in his sister's eyes. His grin grew wider. "You want one, don't you, sweetheart? I like chocolate." He waggled it at her, looked to the boy when he wouldn't let her go. The smile faded. "Come on, you want 'em. They're yours. No skin off my nose. I got more." The boy noticed now the man looked off to one side when he spoke, like he had to think hard. He wasn't right in the head. The man sat in his car. The boy waited for the door to spring open, but then the bars dropped to the ground. "Guess we'll leave 'em for the birds, then," the man shrugged. Their wrappings shone in the light. "Change your minds? They'll be here. They're good." He smiled at his sister, staring at them. "Have 'em after lunch, though, sweetheart." He looked up at the boy and winked. "You wouldn't want your mom finding out. She'd kill me." He tipped his hat. Then the car pulled away, engine opening out in a deep roar and spooking the cockatoos again. The boy shielded his eyes from the dust. And then the man was gone, and they were left with the hot wrappers sitting in the middle of the road. "Can we?" "No," the boy said. "Why not?" "Because we don't need them. Let's keep going." His sister looked back once, frowning, then dragged in his wake. "The lake will be enough, you'll see. The water will be so cold." She didn't say anything. "Don't pout. You'll forget as soon as you put your head beneath the water." "I'm not putting my head underneath." "'Cause you're a chicken," he joked, like he always did. "You have to one day." "I'm not a chicken." "Bark, bark." She planted both feet. "Don't call me a chicken." He sighed. Why bother protecting her? Sisters can be such pains sometimes. "We're nearly there. Hurry up." She resisted the hand in her back to spite him and looked behind again. But they're just sitting there, getting ruined. He was becoming annoyed now. "Then the cockies'll have 'em something to eat," he said, and shoved harder. She kicked dirt, but at least kept moving. He squinted up the road, but couldn't see any sign of the car, and steered them off the path towards the old quarry. They bush-bashed over rising ground for a bit, then came over the embankment to the waterhole. The lake shimmered in the heat, spreading deep blue. It was too hot and too far for other kids in town, so no one else was here. On weekends, there'd be others, but for now, they had it all to themselves, just the way he liked it. Sometimes, he wished he didn't have to bring his sister, so he could take off his swimsuit too. Let the water caress his parts, but he couldn't do that while she was here. There were rules. His father wouldn't be happy if she told on him, but it was no matter. He thought licking his lips and imagined himself in the cool. This would do. Besides, on the edge of the hill, his sister had stopped dead, arms crossed. "Want to go back," she said in a baby voice. "Jeez, look at that water. Don't you want to swim?" He put a hand in her back again, and she dug her heels in. "You mean I want chocolate. Don't be a baby. Don't call me a baby," she yelled. "Why can't I have chocolate?" Her voice echoed across the dam, and his patience left him. It was supposed to be a nice afternoon, swimming in cold water, lying back and looking up at the sky, not worrying about home. And then the bloke comes and ruins it all. A branch cracked to their left. He paused, hand still on his sister's back, searched and breaking. It was hard to see through the haze, and he caught a shadow amongst the tall grass. He shielded his eyes against the glare. The shadow rose. Afterwards, he would remember seeing that dark shape in the grass. Thinking too slow. The man, yet his feet staying stuck to the spot, unable to react even though he should do something. Now, he remembered the other details of those last moments. The heat of his sister's back against his hand, the smell of the lake, the prickling sun, the weariness in his legs. Then all he remembered was blood.